Elara lived in a world woven from starlight and ancient whispers, where the breeze carried the scent of moon-petal blossoms, and the mountains slumbered under cloaks of perpetual mist. Her home was a small, round cottage nestled in Whisperwind Hollow, a place so named for the gentle, sighing air that always seemed to hum lullabies through the tall silverleaf trees. It was a quiet existence, shared only with her grandmother Maeve, whose eyes held the wisdom of 1,000 winters, and whose hands could coax forgotten songs from even the most stubborn hearth-fire. But for Elara, the true heart of the world beat above, in the vast velvet expanse of the night sky. From the moment she could toddle, guided by Maeve's steady hand, she'd been drawn to the stars. They weren't just distant pinpricks of light to her. They were living jewels, each with its own story, its own gentle pulse. She knew the constellations like old friends, the meandering river of souls, the steadfast guardian's shield, and the mischievous twinkling sprite that always seemed to wink just for her. Every clear night, Elara would bundle herself in her warmest shawl and slip out to the small moss-covered porch. There, with her chin resting on her knees, she would watch, lost in the silent ballet of the cosmos. Maeve would often join her, a steaming mug of star-nettle tea in hand, and together they would trace the paths of wandering comets and listen to the faint, almost imperceptible hum that Elara swore emanated from the celestial sphere itself. Tonight, however, was different. A prickle of anticipation, like the whisper of frost on a winter window pane, had settled upon Elara since dusk. The air was unusually still, the silverleaf trees holding their breath. Even the crickets seemed to chirp in a hushed, reverent tone. Maeve had felt it too, her gaze more distant than usual, her movements slower, as if listening to a song only she could hear. "Tonight, little stargazer," Maeve had murmured as she tucked Elara into her bed. "The veil between worlds is thin. Keep your heart open and your eyes wide." Elara hadn't needed telling. She lay awake long after Maeve's soft footsteps faded, her imagination painting vibrant tapestries across the ceiling. When the moon, a sliver of polished silver, finally drifted across her window, she knew it was time. Slipping out of bed, she pulled on her warmest cloak, a soft woolen garment the color of twilight, embroidered with tiny, shimmering threads that caught the faintest light. The porch air was cool, fresh, and tasted faintly of pine and the deep, rich soil of the forest floor. Elara settled into her usual spot, tilting her head back. The sky was a breathtaking canvas tonight, darker and deeper than she had ever seen it. Millions upon millions of stars blazed, so close it felt as though she could reach out and pluck them like dew-kissed berries. The Milky Way, usually a hazy ribbon, now pulsed with an almost liquid luminescence, a cosmic river flowing directly overhead. She watched, utterly mesmerized, for what felt like hours. Then, a subtle shift. Not a shooting star, not a comet, but something else entirely. High above, near the constellation of the Weaver's Loom, a single star, brighter than all the others, began to shimmer. It wasn't fading, nor was it streaking across the sky. Instead, it seemed to egg-eye descending. Slowly, gracefully, the star detached itself from the celestial tapestry. It didn't burn with a fiery trail, nor did it plummet with destructive speed. It drifted, a tear of pure, incandescent light, falling with the deliberate elegance of a dandelion seed caught on a summer breeze. Its light intensified as it drew closer, bathing the hollow in a soft, ethereal glow that made the silverleaf trees shimmer like ghosts, and the moss on the porch steps gleam like emeralds. Elara gasped, a silent breath caught in her throat. This was no ordinary meteor. This was a star, a true star, leaving its home in the heavens. A deep, inexplicable pull settled in her chest, a feeling of both wonder and profound concern. It was beautiful, yes, but also tinged with a delicate sadness, like a pearl falling from a broken necklace. The star continued its gentle descent, growing larger, its light rippling with all the colors of the aurora borealis, contained within a perfect teardrop form. It passed below the towering peaks of the Shadow Vale Mountains, skirted the ancient, whispering woods that bordered Whisperwind Hollow, and seemed to aim for the dense heart of the forest itself, a place Elara knew as the Whispering Grove, a place of ancient magic and tangled roots, usually forbidden to her. Her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and an irresistible urge, Elara knew she had to go. Maeve's words echoed in her mind, "Keep your heart open and your eyes wide." This was what Maeve had meant. This was the thin veil. Without a moment's hesitation, Ilara stood. Her feet, usually light, felt heavy with purpose. She stepped off the porch and into the glowing night. The ground beneath her felt alive, vibrating with the stars' descending energy. The air was cool against her cheeks, but a warmth blossomed in her chest, guiding her. The Whispering Grove was a maze of ancient trees. Their branches interlaced so tightly they formed a perpetual twilight even in the brightest day. Tonight, however, the stars' glow pierced through the canopy, painting the forest floor in shifting patterns of silver, blue, and gold. The path, usually obscured by shadows and roots, was now lit as if by 1,000 fireflies. Ilara moved with a quiet urgency, her senses alive. The forest smelled richer, the earth softer beneath her worn boots. She heard the rustle of unseen creatures, the hoot of an owl, and the gentle murmur of a hidden stream, but none of it felt threatening. It was as if the entire forest was holding its breath, watching with her. Deeper and deeper she ventured, following the persistent, almost melodic hum that now emanated from the star. It had landed, she realized, not with a crash, but with a soundless grace. The light pulsed steadily ahead, drawing her like a moth to a flame. The air grew warmer, infused with a scent she couldn't quite place, like ozone after a summer storm, mingled with the sweetness of night-blooming jasmine and something infinitely ancient, like polished stone and forgotten dreams. Finally, she arrived in a small clearing, ringed by trees whose trunks were wider than her cottage, their branches draped with luminous moss. And there it was. It wasn't a meteor, charred and broken. It wasn't a rock, dull and inert. It was a perfect crystalline sphere, about the size of a child's head, nestled gently amidst a bed of glowing, dew-kissed ferns. It pulsed with a soft internal light, shifting between shades of deep sapphire, amethyst, and rose gold. Tendrils of faint, shimmering mist curled around it, rising and falling like gentle breaths. Ilara approached slowly, her heart thrumming. The star was cool to the touch, not hot as one might expect. She knelt, extending a hesitant hand. The moment her fingertips brushed its smooth, glassy surface, a jolt, not of electricity, but of pure, gentle energy, passed through her. It was as if she had touched something infinitely old and fragile, yet brimming with life. The star pulsed brighter beneath her touch, and for a fleeting moment a cascade of images flooded Ilara's mind. Vast, swirling nebulae, distant galaxies spiraling in silent dance, the quiet hum of cosmic harmony. She felt an echo of immense distances of countless years, and then a profound sense of exhaustion, of sorrow, and a desperate plea. It was fading. Even as it glowed, Ilara could sense its inner light dimming, like a candle flickering in a draught. The vibrant colors began to lose their intensity, the tendrils of mist growing thinner. A wave of protectiveness, fierce and undeniable, washed over her. This star, this piece of the sky, had chosen to fall here, to land in her world, perhaps even for her to find. She couldn't let it simply wink out. "Oh," she whispered, her voice barely audible in the enchanted silence. "You're hurt." She remembered Maeve's stories of the sky weavers, ancient beings who tended to the tapestry of stars, ensuring their light never faltered. But this star was here on Earth, far from their celestial care. It was alone, and it was dying. Carefully, Ilara tried to lift it. It was surprisingly light, like holding a ball of solidified moonlight. It felt delicate, precious, yet carried a subtle, inherent gravity that anchored it to her grasp. Its light warmed her hands, a comforting, hopeful heat. "I'll take you home," she decided, her voice firm. "Maeve will know what to do. She always does." Clutching the star close to her chest, Ilara turned and began the journey back through the Whispering Grove. The path, still illuminated by the star's fading glow, seemed less daunting now. She felt a connection to this fragile cosmic visitor, a silent promise to protect it. The star pulsed gently against her, a steady rhythm against her own racing heart, as if offering a quiet reassurance. As she emerged from the trees and approached the small, round cottage, a light flickered on in the window. Maeve was awake. Of course she was. Maeve always knew. Ilara pushed open the cottage door, the familiar scent of herbs and old books washing over her. Maeve stood by the hearth, stoking the embers, her silhouette outlined against the warm glow. She turned as Elara entered, her eyes, usually soft with age, now sharp and keenly observant. Her gaze fell immediately upon the star clutched in Elara's hands. A slow, knowing smile spread across Maeve's face, tinged with a faint sadness. "So, it has come," she murmured, her voice a low thrum. The veil was thin indeed tonight. She led Elara to the small circular table in the center of the room, motioning for her to place the star gently upon it. As Elara released her grip, the star's light, which had been drawing strength from her proximity, visibly dimmed further. Its vibrant colors faded to a pale, almost translucent white. The tendrils of mist around it vanished. Maeve knelt beside the table, her weathered hands hovering over the star, not quite touching. Her brow furrowed in concentration. "A sky tear," she whispered, her voice laced with reverence. "It has been many ages since one of these graced our world." "What is it, Maeve?" Elara asked, her voice tight with anxiety. "It's fading. It feels sad." Maeve looked up, her gaze meeting Elara's. "It is a fragment of a greater star, little one, a piece of the lifeblood of the cosmos, fallen from its place in the celestial dance. When a star falls, it is often due to a great sorrow, a deep wound in the fabric of the universe, or a prophecy taking root. This one," she paused, her eyes tracing the faint, almost imperceptible lines on the star's surface. "This one can—" She reached out, her fingers gently caressing the star's cool surface. A faint, almost imperceptible warmth spread from her touch, and the star pulsed, a single weak throb of light. "It needs nourishment, child, not of the earth, but of starlight itself. It needs to reconnect with its source, or it will fade entirely, becoming naught but a beautiful inert stone." Elara felt a cold dread creep into her heart. "Can we help it, Maeve? You know so much. You always know what to do." Maeve sighed, a sound like rustling autumn leaves. "I know some things, Elara, but the ways of the sky tears are ancient and perilous. This star has fallen far from its home, and the journey back is not a simple one. To heal it, to restore its light, we would need to find a way to return it to the stream of Aether, the very river of light from which all stars are born. Or perhaps find a source of pure, unblemished starlight on this world. A place where the veil is not merely thin, but utterly—" She stood, moving to a dusty bookshelf filled with ancient tomes and scrolls. Her fingers traced the spines, her eyes distant, as if searching through memories rather than titles. There are tales, old and forgotten, of places where the very essence of stars collects, of wells that drink the light of 1,000 moons, of mountains that touch the very hem of the heavens. But these are legends, Elara, whispered by the first folk, not maps. Elara looked at the star, now flickering weakly on the table. It seemed to shrink before her eyes, its luminescence barely enough to cast a shadow. The faint plea she had felt earlier intensified, becoming a silent, desperate cry. She had found it. She had brought it home. She couldn't abandon it now. "We have to try, Maeve," Elara said, her voice small but firm. "I found it. I think it came for me to help it." Maeve turned from the bookshelf, her expression softening as she looked at Elara, then at the fading star. "Perhaps you are right, little stargazer. The threads of destiny are often woven with surprising knots." She picked up a small polished stone from a shelf, a deep midnight blue gem that seemed to absorb all light around it. With a delicate movement, she placed it beside the star. The sky tear pulsed once, a tiny spark, as if acknowledging the gesture. "This will offer it a momentary respite, a tiny sip of borrowed starlight, but it is not enough, not nearly enough." Maeve's eyes, filled with a mixture of love and concern, met Elara's. "The path to truly heal this star, Elara, will be long and full of challenges. It will take you far from Whisperwind Hollow into places you have only dreamed of. Are you prepared for such a journey?" Elara looked from Maeve to the fragile fading star. The images of swirling nebulae, of cosmic sorrow, flashed in her mind. This was more than a pretty stone. It was a piece of the universe, a living light, and it needed her. She took a deep breath, feeling a courage she hadn't known she possessed blooming in her heart. "Yes, Maeve," Elara said, her voice clear and steady. "I am." The star on the table, as if hearing her resolve, pulsed a little brighter, a tiny flicker of hope in the gathering gloom. But the light was still weak, its future still uncertain. The true journey, Elara knew, had only just begun. Elara cradled Maeve in her hands, the warmth of the tiny star, a comforting anchor in the sudden vastness of her responsibility. It hummed softly, a melody felt more in her bones than heard with her ears, a song of sorrow and a fragile plea. She had said yes, but, how did one heal a star? She looked around her small familiar cottage, now seeming almost too ordinary for the extraordinary task ahead. The shelves of herbs, the bubbling pot on the hearth, the neatly stacked kindling, none of it held the answers she sought. Yet, a faint glimmer from Maeve seemed to draw her gaze to a forgotten corner, behind an old wooden chest where a loose floorboard lay askew. Curiosity, a spark of the same courage that had just bloomed, urged her forward. She knelt, prying open the board with a gentle tug. Beneath, nestled in dust and forgotten memories, lay a single, leather-bound book. Its cover was unadorned, save for a faint silver spiral embossed on the aging hide, a spiral that seemed to pulse with a light mirroring Maeve's own. As her fingers brushed the cover, a wave of ancient energy washed over her, not overwhelming, but deep and resonant. This was no ordinary book. With Maeve still cradled carefully, Elara opened it. The pages, thin as spun moonlight, were filled not with ink, but with shimmering script that shifted and danced before her eyes, like constellations forming and reforming. It was a language of light, a silent song that flowed directly into her mind, bypassing words, painting pictures in her imagination. The book revealed that Maeve was not merely a star, but a seed star, one of the primordial sparks from which entire galaxies were born. It was a cosmic heart, a wellspring of creation itself. But Maeve was fading because its connection to the great tapestry of starlight, the cosmic network that fed all seed stars, had been severed or perhaps dimmed by some long-forgotten shadow. To heal Maeve, Elara needed to find the wellspring of Athel, the primal source of all starlight, a place where the very essence of creation shimmered into being. The images in the book pulsed with increasing urgency, a cascade of pure liquid light pouring from the heavens into a crystal basin, nestled deep within a realm of ancient magic. It showed a path, not a map, but a series of evocative clues. Beyond the whispering woods, where the rivers of night meet the sky mountains, there the Ethel flows. Elara closed the book, its light dimming back into the silver spiral. The task felt monumental, impossible, yet Maeve pulsed with a renewed, albeit faint, hope. The little star seemed to be saying, "You can do this. You are my last chance." "And fine, but I'm on see." She spent the rest of the night preparing. She fashioned a small padded satchel from softest moonlight moth silk, lined with dried lavender, and woven with protective charms whispered from the old book. Maeve nestled inside, its faint glow seeping through the fabric, a constant companion. She packed dried berries, a water skin, a small knife, and her warmest shawl. As dawn painted the eastern sky in hues of rose and violet, Elara stepped out of her cottage, leaving behind the only home she had ever known, her heart a mixture of fear and resolute purpose. The whispering woods lived up to their name. As Elara stepped beneath the canopy of ancient trees, a chorus of soft murmurs greeted her. Leaves rustled secrets, branches creaked ancient tales, and a gentle breeze sighed through the ferns, carrying whispers she almost understood. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth, sweet honeysuckle and something else, something wild and ancient, the breath of the forest itself. Sunlight, dappled and fragmented, struggled to reach the forest floor, painting shifting patterns of light and shadow on the moss-covered path. Elara felt a sense of being watched, not menacingly, but with a quiet, knowing gaze. Maeve, nestled against her heart, pulsed a little brighter as if recognizing the deep natural magic of this place. The forest seemed to acknowledge its presence too. Flowers along the path turned their faces towards the faint glow, and tiny luminescent fungi pulsed in rhythm with Maeve's gentle beat. The path, at first clear, soon dissolved into a maze of tangled roots and winding trails. Elara found herself relying on intuition, and on Maeve's subtle guidance. When she strayed, the star's warmth would subtly shift, guiding her back towards the direction of true north, or perhaps true purpose. She walked for hours, the the gentle rustle and hum of the woods, a constant lullaby. As dusk began to settle, painting the sky in shades of deep indigo, Elara found herself in a clearing dominated by an enormous, ancient oak. Its trunk was wider than her cottage, its branches spread like sheltering arms, dripping with luminous moss and delicate bell-shaped flowers that chimed faintly in the evening breeze. Nestled in a hollow at the base of the tree, half hidden by ferns, she saw a pair of eyes, large and golden, observing her with profound stillness. From the shadows emerged a creature unlike any she had ever seen. It was roughly the size of a large badger, but covered entirely in soft glowing moss that pulsed with a gentle green light. Its eyes, the color of melted amber, held an intelligence that startled her. Two delicate antler-like growths, like miniature branches, sprouted from its head, adorned with tiny dew-kissed leaves. "Welcome, little spark-bearer," a voice rumbled, deep and resonant, like stones shifting in a riverbed. It wasn't spoken aloud, but echoed in her mind, clear as a bell. It has been long since a seed star passed through these ancient ways. Elara gasped, startled but not afraid. "You know what Maeve is?" The moss creature tilted its head, its antlers swaying gently. "We, the keepers of the whispering woods, remember the old songs. We feel the ebb and flow of cosmic light. The song of your heart star is faint, child, but not yet extinguished." It took a step closer, and Elara noticed that even its paws were cushioned with soft, glowing moss. "You seek the wellspring of Ethel, a journey for the brave and the true of heart." "I must," Elara said, her voice steady despite the awe she felt. "Maeve is fading. The book said the wellspring is beyond these woods, where the rivers of night meet the sky mountains." "Indeed," the keeper rumbled. "The path is long, and the mountains hold their own mysteries. But the woods will guide you, if you listen closely." It nudged a glowing paw towards a cluster of particularly vibrant bluebells. "For the sky mountains, the air is thin, and the paths are often lost in mists. Take this." From the heart of the bluebell cluster, a single glowing blossom detached itself and floated towards Elara. It was made of pure light, ethereal and shimmering. "This is a stardew blossom. Its light will cut through the deepest mists, and its scent will clear your mind when the air grows thin. It will also hum softly when you are near true starlight, helping you discern the rivers of night." Elara took the blossom, her fingers passing through its shimmering form as if it were spun air, yet she felt its warmth, a gentle pulse in her palm. "Thank you," she whispered, her heart filled with gratitude. "Go now, little spark-bearer. The journey is long, but the forest watches over you." With a final resonant hum, the moss creature melted back into the shadows beneath the ancient oak, leaving only the memory of its glowing eyes and the lingering scent of damp earth and starlight. Refreshed by the encounter and fortified by the stardew blossom, Elara continued her journey. The woods grew denser, the whispers more intricate, but she felt less alone. Maeve pulsed steadily, responding to the subtle magic of the forest, its light gaining a whisper of strength, a tiny, almost imperceptible brightening. The stardew blossom, held carefully in her hand, glowed with a soft, steady luminescence, casting a gentle blue light on her path. Days bled into nights as Elara traversed the whispering woods. She learned to read the subtle signs of the forest, the way the moss grew on the north side of trees, the direction of the wind through the highest branches, the gentle pull of Maeve's light towards the east. She ate wild berries and drank from crystal-clear streams, her body growing lean and strong, her senses sharper than ever before. The woods, which at first had seemed vast and daunting, now felt like a living, breathing companion, a protector. One morning, as the sun painted the sky in streaks of gold and rose, Elara emerged from the dense foliage. Before her, the whispering woods gave way to an entirely new landscape, one of breathtaking grandeur and formidable challenge. The sky mountains. They towered into the heavens, their peaks shrouded in swirling mists and perpetually kissed by clouds. Their slopes were not green with trees, but streaked with veins of shimmering, iridescent minerals, quartz that caught the light and fractured it into rainbows, obsidian that gleamed like polished night, and veins of something that pulsed with a faint, internal luminescence, like captured starlight. The air here was crisp and thin, carrying the scent of stone and icy wind. And then she saw them, the rivers of night. Not rivers of water, but shimmering currents of deep indigo and violet, flowing down the mountain slopes. They were composed of crystallized starlight, liquid essence of the cosmos, cascading over rocks and pooling into still, reflective tarns. They glowed with an ethereal light, even in the morning sun, mirroring the stars that were still faintly visible in the pale high sky. The stardew blossom in Ilara's hand pulsed with a renewed intensity, humming softly, a clear sign that she was on the right path. The sight filled Ilara with a profound sense of awe and a fresh surge of determination. This was it. This was the place. But the mountains looked impossibly steep, their paths treacherous and unforgiving. She took a deep breath, the thin air chilling her lungs, and began to climb. The ascent was arduous. The sheer faces of the mountains demanded careful foot placement, and the loose scree underfoot threatened to send her tumbling. The air grew thinner with every upward step, making her lungs ache. Yet Maeve's faint glow against her chest, and the steady hum of the stardew blossom, provided a constant source of quiet strength. She moved slowly, deliberately, her gaze fixed on the shimmering rivers of night that snaked their way further up the peaks. As she navigated a particularly narrow ledge, a sudden gust of wind nearly tore her from her footing. She stumbled, catching herself just in time, her heart pounding. From a hidden crevice above, a small, silver flash caught her eye. It was a creature, no bigger than her hand, with delicate moth-like wings that shimmered with the colors of the aurora borealis. Its body was slender and graceful, almost translucent, and its eyes, large and dark, sparkled with an intelligent curiosity. It hovered in the air, watching her with an intense gaze, its antennae twitching. "Careful, mountain climber," a voice chimed, light and musical, like the tinkling of ice crystals. "The sky mountains do not suffer carelessness gladly." Ilara blinked, surprised. This creature, a mountain fae by the looks of it, was speaking to her. "I am Ilara," she said, steadying herself. "I mean no disrespect to your home. I am on a quest." She gently revealed Maeve, letting its faint light glow from the satchel. The fae's eyes widened and it darted closer, hovering inches from Maeve's light. "A seed star, fading. I haven't seen one of those since the stories my great-grandmother told me. We called them heart stars, the wellsprings of our own mountain light." It buzzed around Maeve, its tiny wings creating a miniature whirlwind. "My name is Lyra. I am a starlight weaver. I gather the stray starlight that falls from the rivers of night and weave it into protective enchantments for the mountain peaks. But this is different." Lyra landed delicately on Ilara's shoulder, her tiny feet surprisingly light. "A heart star in need of the wellspring of Athel? This is a journey of legend. No one has sought the wellspring in centuries. Many believe it to be merely a myth, a tale to explain the glowing rivers of night." "It's real," Ilara insisted, "and Maeve needs it." Lyra looked at Ilara, her dark eyes filled with a mixture of wonder and concern. "The wellspring is hidden deep within these mountains, beyond the veiled peaks, where the very air shimmers with ancient power. The path is treacherous, and the spirits of the thin air do not welcome strangers." "I have to try," Ilara said, her resolve firm. Lyra looked at Maeve again, a tiny frown creasing her brow. "This star, its light is so faint, yet it sings a song of such profound beauty. It has touched my heart, Ilara. I will guide you. I know these mountains like the beat of my own wings." A surge of relief washed over Ilara. A companion. A guide. This felt like a true blessing. "Thank you, Lyra. I would be honored." With Lyra darting ahead, a shimmering beacon in the thin mountain air, Ilara found the climb becoming less perilous. Lyra pointed out hidden footholds, warned of crumbling edges, and navigated the bewildering labyrinth of mountain paths with effortless grace. She explained that the spirits of the thin air were not malicious, but ancient, powerful elementals who guarded the higher peaks, often manifesting as sudden, disorienting fogs or gusts of wind that could lead travelers astray. One afternoon, a thick, swirling mist descended upon them without warning, obscuring everything beyond a few feet. It was cold and damp, clinging to Ilara's clothes and chilling her to the bone. Disorientation set in quickly, the world shrinking to a gray, formless void. Ilara felt a familiar wave of panic, a sense of being lost and helpless. "This is the work of the spirits," Lyra's voice chimed surprisingly close. "Hold the stardew blossom high, Ilara. its light is pure. Elara remembered the moss creature's gift. She raised the glowing blue blossom. Instantly, its light intensified, pushing back the oppressive mist, creating a small clear bubble around them. The chilling dampness receded, and the air within the bubble felt clearer, easier to breathe. The stardew blossom hummed, a gentle, reassuring melody, and Maeve pulsed in response, its own faint light gaining a tiny flicker of strength. Within the blossom's sphere of influence, Lyra guided her. "Left here, Elara. A hidden path. The mist tries to hide it." Elara followed, placing her feet carefully, trusting Lyra's sharp eyes and the blossom's unwavering light. The path indeed was barely visible, a narrow ledge carved into the sheer rock face, almost entirely swallowed by the swirling grey. They climbed higher, past shimmering ice caves where frozen starlight glittered, and across natural bridges of crystal that spanned dizzying chasms. Lyra shared stories of the mountains, tales of the sky dragons who once soared through these peaks, their scales like constellations, and of the first starlight weavers who learned to harness the essence of the rivers of night. As they ascended, the air grew not just thinner, but also charged with an almost palpable energy. The veins of luminous rock on the mountain slopes began to pulse with greater intensity, casting a soft, otherworldly glow in the perpetual twilight of the higher peaks. The rivers of night here seemed to flow not just with light, but with an audible hum, a deep, resonant chord that vibrated through the very stones. They passed through a narrow gorge, its walls gleaming with a mosaic of rainbow-hued minerals. On the other side, the landscape opened up dramatically. Before them stretched a vast high-altitude plateau, surrounded by a ring of even taller, impossibly slender peaks that seemed to pierce the heavens. The ground of the plateau itself shimmered, as if paved with crushed diamonds and mother-of-pearl, reflecting the faint starlight from above. In the center of this plateau, rising like a crown jewel, stood a colossal structure, ancient beyond measure. It was a temple, or perhaps a natural formation shaped by untold eons of magic, carved from pure, translucent crystal. Its spires spiraled upwards, catching every stray beam of light and refracting it into a breathtaking display of cosmic color. From its very heart, a column of pure liquid light pulsed, reaching towards the sky, then bending back down, cascading into a series of crystal basins. "The wellspring of Ethel," Lyra whispered, her voice filled with reverence. Her tiny wings beat excitedly, sending shimmering dust into the air. "It's real. It's truly real." Maeve, nestled against Elara's heart, began to pulse with an urgency she hadn't felt before. Its light, though still faint, was now steady and vibrant, a tiny beacon of hope mirroring the grand spectacle before them. The stardew blossom glowed fiercely, its hum a joyous song. But as they drew closer to the crystal temple, a new challenge presented itself. The air around the wellspring shimmered with such intense energy that it created a barrier, a rippling field of pure force. It wasn't hostile, but it was immense, a protective shield around the source of all starlight. And within this shimmering field, Elara could faintly discern shapes, luminous figures moving slowly, guarding the wellspring. They were the spirits of Athel, beings of pure light, ancient and unmoving. Their presence radiated a powerful, silent question, a test of worthiness. Elara felt a thrill of trepidation but also a profound sense of purpose. She had come so far. Maeve was so close. The true heart of their journey lay just beyond this shimmering veil. She took a deep breath, clutching Maeve, and prepared to face whatever lay ahead. The wellspring of Ethel, the source of all cosmic light, awaited. Elara felt a thrill of trepidation, but also a profound sense of purpose. She had come so far. Maeve was so close. The true heart of their journey lay just beyond this shimmering veil. She took a deep breath, clutching Maeve, and prepared to face whatever lay ahead. The wellspring of Ethel, the source of all cosmic light, awaited. With a silent prayer, Elara stepped forward. The shimmering veil, not a physical barrier but a membrane of pure energy, parted for her. It felt like walking through warm starlight, a gentle caress that left a tingling wonder on her skin. As she passed through, the air around her thickened, not with weight, but with an immense, ancient presence. The spirits of Ethel coalesced around her. They were not solid forms but living constellations, shifting nebulae of light that pulsed with colors beyond earthly comprehension. Each spirit was a universe in miniature, a silent symphony of cosmic dust and starlight. They radiated no heat, no cold, only an overwhelming sense of timeless wisdom and an almost unbearable purity. Their presence was a question, silent and profound, that resonated not in her ears, but directly in the deepest chambers of her heart. Elara felt her own essence laid bare before them. Memories, fears, hopes, and above all, her boundless love for Maeve, flowed out of her like a river of light, an offering. She didn't try to hide anything, for she knew instinctively that deceit was impossible here, and unnecessary. Her journey had been one of truth, of unwavering devotion. One of the spirits, larger and more radiant than the others, drifted closer. Its light expanded, surrounding Elara and Maeve in a gentle, warm embrace. Within this light, Elara saw flashes, not visions in the traditional sense, but empathic echoes. She relived moments of her journey, the biting winds of the crystal peaks, the labyrinthine whispers of the whispering woods, the trials of the sunken city. She felt the despair of Maeve's fading, the pain of her own loneliness, and the fierce determination that had propelled her forward. Then, the focus shifted. The spirit's light drew forth memories of Maeve herself. Maeve's first laugh, a sound like tiny bells, Maeve's small hand clutching her finger. Maeve's eyes bright as twin stars, gazing up at her with boundless trust. The spirit was not judging her actions, but the purity of her intent. Was her desire to restore Maeve selfish, born of her own need, or was it a selfless act of love, a recognition of the unique, irreplaceable light that was Maeve? Elara didn't need to answer with words. Her heart, overflowing with maternal love, spoke for itself. She clutched Maeve closer, the shimmering outline of her child a constant reminder of the preciousness of life, of individuality, of the unique spark that each being carried. She wanted Maeve back, not as an extension of herself, but as the vibrant, laughing, mischievous Maeve she knew and adored. She wanted Maeve to shine her own light upon the world. I see mine in Italian. A soft, resonant hum, like the distant song of 1,000 suns, filled the space. It was a sound of affirmation, of acceptance. The spirits of Aethel, those ancient guardians of the cosmic heart, had acknowledged her worthiness. Their shifting forms brightened, and then, slowly, gracefully, they parted, revealing the true wellspring. It was not a pool of water, nor a fount of liquid light, but a serene, ethereal lake that stretched beyond perception, yet felt intimately close. The wellspring of Aethel was a nexus of pure, living starlight, a swirling galaxy in miniature, held captive and yet endlessly free within this sacred chamber. Its surface was a tapestry of shifting nebulae, of nascent stars blooming and fading, of cosmic dust dancing in slow, eternal waltzes. All the colors of the universe, from the deepest indigo of interstellar space to the fiery gold of a dying sun, swirled within its depths. It pulsed with a gentle, rhythmic beat, the very heartbeat of creation. The light emanating from the wellspring was unlike any Elara had ever encountered. It was warm and cool at the same time, invigorating and calming, immensely powerful yet profoundly gentle. It hummed with a silent song of beginning and end, of everything that was and everything that could ever be. It was the source. Elara felt an irresistible pull, a deep instinctual knowing that this was where Maeve needed to be. Guided by an unseen force, or perhaps by her own pure will, she walked towards the luminous lake. Each step felt like a pilgrimage, each breath a sacred offering. As she neared the edge, the starlight intensified, swirling around Maeve's ethereal form. Carefully, reverently, Elara knelt at the wellspring's edge. The light from its surface reflected in her eyes, making them shine with a renewed hope. She held Maeve, who was still a shimmering outline, a ghost of her former self, over the cosmic waters. The moment her child's delicate form hovered above the wellspring, a profound transformation began. The wellspring's energy, like countless tiny luminous threads, reached out and began to weave itself into Maeve. It wasn't an aggressive absorption, but a gentle, tender embrace. The pure starlight flowed into Maeve, not filling her like a chalice, but re-knitting her very essence. Her shimmering outline began to deepen in color, to gain substance. It was like watching a masterpiece being painted, stroke by delicate stroke, with colors born of the cosmos. Elara watched, transfixed, tears of wonder and relief streaming down her face. She felt a connection, not just to Maeve but to the wellspring itself, a gentle download of understanding that unfolded in her mind like a blossoming flower. Maeve had not been taken by an evil force or stolen. Maeve's light, so pure and bright, had simply resonated too strongly with the wellspring, its ultimate source. In a way, Maeve's own powerful light had drawn her back to the heart of all light, almost dissolving her individual form into the cosmic whole. The journey wasn't just to retrieve Maeve, but to re-anchor her, to give her back her unique form while still allowing her to be connected to the boundless cosmic energy she was destined to share. It was a profound revelation, filling Elara not with anger or sadness, but with a deep, abiding peace. Maeve was not broken. She had simply become too much of what she was, too connected to the universal flow. Now the wellspring was gently coaxing her back into her individual precious self, like separating a single star from the Milky Way, yet still allowing it to shine with the glory of the galaxy. As the light continued to infuse Maeve, her form grew more distinct. The faint colors of her hair, like spun moonlight, began to solidify. The delicate curve of her cheek, the small nose, the hint of a smile, all became more palpable, more real. A faint warmth radiated from her, a warmth Elara hadn't felt since Maeve had first begun to fade. Then, a miracle. Maeve's eyelids, which had been translucent veils of light, flickered. A tiny, almost imperceptible tremor ran through her small body. And then, slowly, hesitantly, her eyes opened. They were not yet the vibrant sparkling pools Elara remembered, but soft, luminous orbs of starlight, reflecting the wellspring's glow. A low, gentle hum, like the buzzing of a tiny contented starbee, emanated from her. Elara's breath caught in her throat. "Maeve," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Maeve's starlight eyes, though still unfocused, seemed to turn towards Elara. A small ethereal hand, now more substantial than before, lifted weakly. It wasn't quite a grasp, but a gentle brush against Elara's finger. It was a touch, a connection, a palpable sign of return. Joy, fierce and unbound, surged through Elara. It wasn't the complete restoration she had longed for, but it was a magnificent, undeniable step. Maeve was there. She was present. She was glowing, not as an echo, but as a nascent form, a luminous child slowly reawakening. The spirits of Ethel, still watching from the periphery of the chamber, pulsed with a renewed, gentle light, a silent benediction. Elara understood. You know, Maeve was not fully back, not yet. The wellspring had rewoven her essence, but she was still fragile, still forming, like a new star finding its place in the firmament. She needed more than just the wellspring's light. She needed grounding, connection to the vibrant, living world she had been a part of. She needed to rediscover the joys and wonders of life, to re-experience the touch of wind, the scent of flowers, the sound of laughter. With a heart overflowing with gratitude, Elara gently lifted Maeve away from the wellspring. Maeve was still glowing softly, a palpable, wondrous presence in her arms. The weight was familiar, yet utterly new. She was no longer a shadow, but a radiant, ethereal child, a living constellation in miniature. As Elara turned, the spirits of Ethel parted again, creating a shimmering path back through the veil. Their silent guidance was clear. The next phase of their journey lay beyond this sacred chamber, back in the world of sun and moon, of earth and sky. Maeve needed to relearn what it meant to be Maeve, connected to the cosmos, yet firmly rooted in her own unique existence. Stepping back through the shimmering veil, Elara re-entered the outer realms of Ethel. The air, though still imbued with magic, felt less overwhelmingly ancient, more welcoming. The soft, luminous flora of Ethel seemed to shimmer brighter, as if in celebration. The journey had transformed. It was no longer a frantic quest for a cure, but a journey of nurturing, of rediscovery, of reintegration. Elara looked down at Maeve, who nestled softly in her arms, her starlight eyes now closed in a peaceful, luminous sleep. Maeve was fragile, still forming, still dreaming of the stars she had momentarily rejoined. But she was Ithare. The darkest part of their adventure was behind them. The path ahead was one of gentle exploration, of shared moments, of helping Maeve reclaim her full, vibrant self. Elara knew, deep in her heart, that their adventure was far from over, But it was now a journey of profound hope, a testament to the enduring power of love, and the wondrous mysteries that still awaited them in the vast, beautiful world. The shimmering form of Maeve pulsed with a soft inner light, a miniature nebula swirling within the confines of what would one day again be her human shape. She was not a child, not yet fully a woman, but something in between, a luminous echo, a whisper of starlight wrapped in the promise of flesh. Her eyes, when they occasionally fluttered open, were not the familiar deep brown, but pools of liquid silver, reflecting the cosmic dance she had just departed. She made no sound, but her presence was a song without notes, a melody of profound peace and nascent power. Elara knelt, her hand hovering, afraid to touch, afraid to disrupt the delicate process of her friend's return. Lyra, usually boisterous, was hushed, her small hand clutching Finn's tunic, her gaze fixed on the wonder before them. Finn, ever the anchor, simply sat, his broad shoulders hunched slightly, a silent guardian against any lingering shadows. They were in a small sheltered hollow within the Whispering Woods, a place Elara knew to be particularly potent with healing energies, where ancient mosses glowed with faint bioluminescence, and the air itself seemed to hum with life. "She needs a cradle," Elara finally whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Somewhere soft, somewhere warm." Finn, without a word, began to gather fallen leaves, the largest and softest he could find, layering them into a deep, inviting nest. Lyra, inspired, began to pluck iridescent forest flowers, their petals catching the faint light and scattering it in miniature rainbows. With a flick of her wrist, she coaxed a strand of moon moss to grow, weaving it through the leaves, creating a bed that shimmered and softly pulsed, mirroring Maeve's own gentle glow. Carefully, so carefully, Elara scooped up the ethereal form. Maeve felt not heavy, but like holding a cloud, a bundle of luminous stardust. She settled her into the glowing nest. The moon moss seemed to embrace Maeve, its light deepening, as if recognizing a kindred spirit. A soft, contented sigh, more felt than heard, emanated from Maeve. Her silver eyes closed again, and she seemed to sink deeper into the starlit slumber. For days, they remained in the hollow. Time seemed to stretch and thin, marked only by the shifting patterns of light filtering through the canopy and the ebb and flow of Maeve's inner glow. They spoke in whispers, moved with infinite gentleness. Elara brewed healing teas from forest herbs, Lyra conjured gentle mists to keep the air cool and fresh, and Finn hunted small game and foraged berries, ensuring they all had strength for the vigil. Maeve ate nothing, drank nothing, yet slowly, imperceptibly, she began to change. The swirling nebula within her lightened, coalescing. Her form grew a little denser, a little more defined. One morning, Elara noticed a faint rosy blush beneath the starlight glow of her cheeks. Another day, the shimmer of her hair, which had been pure silver light, began to take on hints of gold, like a dawn sky. Lyra, ever observant, was the first to notice the shift in her dreams. "I hear her," she whispered one night, startling Elara and Finn from their own light slumber. Not words, not exactly, but feelings, like a song, very far away, and colors. Elara touched Lyra's forehead gently. "What colors, little one?" "All of them, but mostly deep blues and purples, like the sky at midnight, and then flashes of bright, burning yellow and orange, like tiny suns." She's remembering Elara, she's dreaming of her journey. This was a comforting thought. Maeve was not lost, she was simply piecing herself back together. The journey ahead, as Elara had known, was indeed one of gentle exploration, a path dictated by Maeve's own nascent consciousness. One afternoon, as the sun dappled the hollow with golden light, Maeve's silver eyes opened, clear and focused. They still held the depth of the cosmos, but now, a spark of recognition flickered within them. She looked at Elara, then Lyra, then Finn, her gaze lingering on each of them, a silent question in their depths. "Maeve?" Elara breathed, her heart leaping. A faint smile, impossibly fragile, touched Maeve's lips. It was the first human expression they had seen. And then, a sound. Not a word, but a soft, melodic hum, like wind chimes made of starlight. It filled the hollow, resonating deep within their chests, a sound of pure joy and profound peace. From that day forward, the changes accelerated. Maeve began to reach out, her hands still ethereal, but capable of grasping. She would trace patterns in the air, luminous lines that faded as quickly as they appeared, perhaps sketching out forgotten constellations or the paths of comets. She still didn't speak in words, but her hums became more varied, expressing curiosity, contentment, and sometimes a faint, wistful sadness. They learned to communicate with her through touch and presence. When Elara spoke of their shared past, of adventures in the whispering woods or evenings by the hearth, Maeve's inner glow would intensify, and her silver eyes would gleam with a deeper understanding. Lyra would dance for her, weaving tiny light spells, and Maeve would respond with soft giggles that sounded like distant stars twinkling. Finn would bring her smooth river stones or fragrant pine cones, and she would hold them, examining their textures with a child's wonder. Their next step became clear. Oh, Maeve needed more than just the sheltered hollow. She needed places that resonated with her new dual nature, places of earth and sky, of ancient magic and celestial wonder. Elara remembered tales of the sunken sky grove, a legendary place said to be where ancient trees, their roots reaching deep into the earth, had once stretched their branches so high they brushed against the very fabric of the heavens. It was a place where the veil between worlds was thin, where starlight could be seen even in the brightest day, and where the wisdom of the earth met the knowledge of the cosmos. It was far, nestled deep within the forgotten valleys beyond the Star Mist's mountains, but Elara felt a strong pull towards it. "We must go to the sunken sky grove," she announced one morning, after a particularly vivid dream of starlit leaves and whispering voices. Finn nodded, already mentally charting a course. Lyra clapped her hands, her eyes alight with the prospect of new adventures. Maeve, hearing the name, opened her eyes, and her luminous form seemed to shimmer with anticipation. It was a silent affirmation. The journey was slow, measured by Maeve's pace. She could now walk, her feet barely touching the ground, leaving faint trails of stardust in her wake. She still wore the simple, shimmering tunic Elara had woven for her from moon moss and spider silk, a garment that seemed to breathe and shift with her inner light. They traveled through sun-drenched meadows where wildflowers bloomed in riotous colors, across crystal-clear rivers where fish darted like living jewels, and beneath the silent, watchful gaze of ancient forests. Maeve absorbed everything. She would stop to gaze at a particularly vibrant butterfly, her hum deepening into a chord of pure delight. She would reach out to touch the rough bark of an ancient oak, and a faint, silvery glow would spread from her fingertips across the tree's surface, as if sharing a secret. Lyra, walking beside her, would often mimic her, reaching out to touch the world with Maeve's gentle curiosity. "What do you see, Maeve?" she would ask, though Maeve still had no words. But sometimes when Lyra touched a flower, Maeve would hum a specific melody, and Lyra would suddenly understand the flower's life cycle, its dreams of sunlight, its fears of the coming frost. It was a new form of communication, a magical empathy born of starlight. Finn, ever practical, ensured their safety and comfort. He built sturdy shelters each night, found the clearest water, and kept their spirits high with his quiet strength and reassuring presence. He noticed that when Maeve slept, her dreams sometimes projected into the air around them. Faint, shimmering images of distant galaxies, swirling nebulae, and streaks of light like comets across a cosmic canvas. It was like sleeping under a personalized, ever-changing planetarium. As they ascended into the foothills of the Star Mist's mountains, the air grew cooler and thinner. The trees began to change, becoming taller, their bark twisted and gnarled, their leaves a deeper, darker green. And then they saw it. A shimmering haze in the distance, clinging to the highest peaks like a celestial shroud. The star mists themselves. "They say," Elara explained to Lyra, her voice hushed, "that the star mists are the condensed dreams of ancient stars, fallen to earth long ago. They hold memories and sometimes they grant visions." Maeve, seeing the mists, let out a joyous high-pitched hum. Her inner glow intensified, pulsing with a deep, resonant rhythm. She felt a kinship with them, a pull towards the ethereal boundary between worlds. Navigating the star mists was like walking through a dream. The air was thick with glittering motes of light, swirling in gentle currents. Sounds were muffled, and colors seemed to shift and deepen. Here, Maeve's human form solidified even further. Her eyes, though still silver, now held flecks of gold and brown, hinting at their former hue. Her hair, a cascade of starlight, began to darken at the roots, showing strands of rich chestnut. One evening, as they rested within the mists, a particularly dense swirl of light enveloped Maeve. She gasped, a small human sound. Her hands flew to her head. Wand. A torrent of images seemed to flash through her mind, reflected momentarily in her silver eyes. A forgotten melody. The scent of a particular flower, the warmth of a fire, Ilara's familiar smile. She's remembering, Lyra cried, tears welling in her eyes. She's remembering us. Maeve looked at Ilara, and this time her lips trembled, and a single clear word escaped her. Ilara. It was a whisper, fragile as spun glass, but it was her voice, the voice they had feared lost forever. Ilara rushed forward, embracing Maeve gently. Maeve's arms, still luminous but now unmistakably human, wrapped around her friend, and Ilara felt the faint, familiar warmth of her embrace. From that moment, Maeve's words returned, slowly at first, like a stream after a long drought. They were interspersed with hums and starlight melodies, but they were words. She spoke of her journey through the cosmos, not with fear, but with a serene wonder. She described seeing the birth of stars, the silent dance of galaxies, the shimmering threads that connected all living things across the vastness of space. She had been a part of it all, a single, radiant spark, and that experience had changed her irrevocably. They emerged from the Star Mist's mountains into a hidden valley, unlike any they had ever seen. This was the enchanting Sky Grove Dart. Here, colossal trees, ancient beyond measure, reached towards the heavens, their branches intertwined, forming a living cathedral. Their leaves were not green, but a spectrum of blues, purples, and silvers, shimmering as if perpetually kissed by moonlight, even under the noonday sun. Between the immense roots, clear pools of water reflected the celestial canopy, creating an illusion of a sky both above and below. The air in the Sky Grove hummed with an almost palpable energy, a blend of deep earth magic and cosmic resonance. It was here, within this sacred space, that Maeve began her final transformation. She spent her days wandering among the ancient trees, her fingers trailing over their bark, listening to the whispered wisdom of their roots. She would sit by the luminous pools, gazing into their depths, her reflection a blend of her old self and her new. Her human form solidified completely, her skin regaining its familiar warmth and texture. Her hair, now a rich chestnut, still held faint, iridescent strands, like captured starlight. Her eyes, finally, returned to their deep, warm brown, but with a new profound depth, as if the cosmos themselves gazed out from within them. But the most remarkable change was not just in her appearance, but in her essence. Maeve was Maeve again, joyful and kind, but she was also something more. She carried the quiet wisdom of the stars within her. She could still hear the faint hum of distant galaxies, feel the pull of unseen moons, and perceive the intricate web of light that connected all life. She discovered new abilities, born of her journey. She could coax flowers to bloom with a touch, not through magic, but through a deep, intuitive understanding of their life force. She could soothe troubled spirits with a melodic hum, her voice carrying the peace of the cosmos. And sometimes, when the night was clear, she could call down slivers of starlight, catching them in her hands like shimmering dust, using them to illuminate dark paths or to heal small wounds. Ilara watched her friend with a heart overflowing with joy and wonder. Maeve was not just recovered, she was reborn, expanded, more vibrant than ever before. Lyra, Maeve's shadow, would often ask her about the stars, and Maeve would patiently describe constellations that no human eye had ever seen, telling stories of cosmic giants and nebulae-born creatures, weaving tales that were both ancient and utterly new. Finn, ever the protector, found a new role. He became Maeve's anchor to the earth, reminding her of the simple joys of a good meal, the warmth of a fire, the feel of solid ground beneath her feet. He would listen to her star songs with a quiet reverence, his practical mind marveling at the boundless magic she now embodied. Their time in the sunken Sky Grove became a period of profound learning and healing for all of them. Ilara, through Maeve, began to understand the deeper connections between all forms of magic, realizing that the earth and the stars were not separate, but two sides of the same wondrous tapestry. Lyra's own intuitive magic deepened, guided by Maeve's starlight wisdom, becoming more focused and potent. She learned to listen to the whispers of the world with a new ear, seeing the magic in everyday things. One evening, as the twin moons cast their silvery glow upon the sky grove, Maeve gathered her friends around one of the luminous pools. Her eyes, now fully brown, shimmered with a gentle light. "I remember everything," she said, her voice rich and full, yet still carrying that faint melodic undercurrent. "My journey into the void, the fear, the release, and then the soaring. Oh friends, the soaring. To become one with the light, to feel the universe's breath upon your very essence. It was humbling." She paused, her gaze sweeping over their faces, her expression filled with an immeasurable love. "But nothing, not even the majesty of the cosmos, compares to the warmth of your hands, the sound of your voices, the love in your eyes. This is where I belong. Here, with you." Elara reached out, taking Maeve's hand. It was warm, solid, real. "You are home, Maeve," she whispered, tears glistening in her eyes. "But I'm also different," Maeve said, a thoughtful frown creasing her brow. "I carry the stars within me. I see things differently. I hear the music of the spheres even now, and I feel a purpose." "What purpose?" Finn asked, his voice soft. Maeve smiled, a radiant, knowing smile. "To share. To remind others that the world is far vaster and more wondrous than they imagine. That magic is not just in spells and enchantments, but in the dance of sunlight on a leaf, in the song of a bird, in the quiet glow of a distant star. And that even in the darkest night, there is always light, always hope, always a path back to what you love." She stood then, and with a graceful movement, raised her hands towards the sky. From her fingertips, tiny motes of starlight drifted upwards, swirling and coalescing above them. They formed a miniature constellation, a familiar pattern that Elara recognized from their earliest adventures, the constellation of the guiding heart, a symbol of courage and enduring love. The starlight then began to descend, not just as light but as warmth, as peace, as a gentle, comforting presence that settled upon them all. They felt their hearts swell, their spirits lift. It was Maeve's gift, her way of sharing the boundless wonder she had experienced. Their adventure was indeed far from over, but it had shifted from a desperate quest to a shared journey of discovery and profound connection. They spent many more weeks in the sunken sky grove, helping Maeve to fully integrate her star self with her human self. She taught them to listen to the silent language of the earth and sky, to see the magic in every breath, every heartbeat. Eventually, a quiet understanding settled among them. It was time to return to their own lands, to the world that needed Maeve's unique perspective, her gentle wisdom, and her radiant hope. The journey back was filled with laughter and stories. Maeve recounted her cosmic tales, her voice weaving intricate tapestries of light and sound. Lyra inspired, conjured tiny, luminous sprites that danced in their wake, scattering joy like fairy dust. Finn, with a new lightness in his step, found himself humming along to Maeve's star songs, his usual stoicism softened by the pervasive wonder around them. Elara walked beside Maeve, her heart full, knowing that the bond between them was now eternal, forged in starlight and tempered by love. They didn't return to the same world they had left. Or perhaps it was they who had changed. The world now seemed brighter, more vibrant, infused with a deeper magic that they had previously overlooked. They saw the shimmer of the cosmic dance in the dew on a spiderweb, heard the echo of star songs in the rustling leaves, and felt the pulse of the universe in the beating of their own hearts. Maeve chose to make her home in a small, sun-dappled cottage near the edge of the Whispering Woods, a place where the forest met a clear, stargazing meadow. It was a home filled with light, not just the light from her occasional star gifts, but the light of shared laughter, of quiet contemplation, and of enduring friendship. People from the nearby villages who had heard whispers of the star-touched one would sometimes seek her out. They came with troubled hearts, with questions about the meaning of life, or simply with a longing for wonder. Maeve would greet them with a gentle smile, her eyes reflecting the infinite patience of the cosmos. She didn't perform grand magic, not often. Instead, she would speak softly, sharing tales of distant stars and the interconnectedness of all things, or she would simply hum a gentle, starlit melody. And always, those who sought her out left with a renewed sense of peace, a deeper understanding of their place in the universe, and a spark of hope rekindled within their souls. Lyra became her closest confidante, her apprentice in the art of listening to the world's hidden music. Together, they would sit under the night sky, Maeve pointing out constellations that only her star eyes could see, and Lyra translating their ancient stories into playful spells and enchanting songs. Finn, though he still preferred the quiet solitude of the forest, often visited, bringing Maeve fresh game or sturdy crafted items. He learned to appreciate the subtle beauty of the night sky, guided by Maeve's insights, and found a new kind of strength in the understanding that even the strongest trees were connected to the furthest stars. Elara, ever the guardian of ancient knowledge, found her own wisdom deepened by Maeve's cosmic perspective. She continued to travel, exploring new magical places, but now she did so with a broader understanding of the universe's intricate dance. She became a bridge between the earthly magic she had always known, and the celestial wonders Maeve had brought back. Their adventure, born of a desperate search, had transformed into a lifelong journey of shared wonder. Maeve, the girl who had been stolen by the void, had returned as a beacon of starlight, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the boundless benevolent magic that infused their world. She was the living embodiment of profound hope, a reminder that even when things seemed darkest, there was always a light waiting to be rekindled, a star waiting to be reborn. And so, as the moon climbed high above the whispering woods, casting its gentle glow over Maeve's star-dusted cottage, and over Elara, Lyra, and Finn, resting peacefully in their own homes, a quiet peace settled over the land. The world was vast, beautiful, and full of wondrous mysteries, just as Elara had known. But now, those mysteries felt less daunting, more inviting, for they knew that even the most distant star was connected to the smallest heart, and that love, truly, was the greatest magic of all.